Welcome everyone to the game between world champion Domaraju Gukesh and his nemesis Nodirbek Abdusattorov. Both of them have had some amazing clashes on the board, and this one is going to be no different. We are at the Saint Louis Blitz. On the first day, Gukesh lost his Blitz game to Nodirbek, and now on day 2 he's in much better form because Gukesh started off with 2.5 points out of 3. He has beaten Sam Shankland and Wesley So until now, and a draw with Levon Aronian. And Nodirbek is of course a beast when it comes to Blitz chess. Let's see how this game pans out, and it will be very interesting to see the battle between two world-class players. Gukesh opens the game with the English opening. We have e5, knight comes out to c3, knight c6 and pawn to g3, bishop g2, bishop g7, and Gukesh goes for this very interesting setup with pawns on e3 and g3. Look at Nodirbek going full on attack with h5, and Gukesh's move h3 means if you go h4 he will play g4, and f5 played here, takes, bishop takes. Very aggressive play here by Nodirbek, but also pretty logical, to be honest. He brings his knight out to f6. Look at black pieces, all very nicely placed. White is a bit low on space, I must say, and also his bishop is not developed. But look at what Gukesh is doing. He brings his knight to c3. He's going to bring his other knight to c3, from c3 to d5. He will bring his knight to c3 and then put it on e4. That's his plan. And play on the light squares is what he would like to achieve. Gukesh is super focused here. Nodirbek taking his time at this point, and he has a few options. He goes bishop e6 and Gukesh brings his other knight to c3. We could potentially go queen d7. Yes, queen comes out to d7. And Nodirbek is thinking, whoa, b4 by Gukesh. He plays his pawn to b4. He's bringing the pawn forward to b5. Castles by black. And now bishop goes to b2. And how should black continue here? Knight h7 could be an idea to bring the knight to g5 and put pressure. He goes knight e7. And can Gukesh actually take on f6 or e7 and then chop this pawn? But maybe then rook b8 and b4 pawn hangs. Interesting. He goes knight takes f6, bishop. Ooh, he takes with the rook. And now knight e4 is the plan. He brings his knight to e4, rook to f5 played. And maybe a very good move for white now is to go bishop f3 to g4. I like how Gukesh has overall built his position. He finds the move. Excellent chess. While black does have pressure on the f file, you know, Gukesh's knight on e4 is so strong that it protects the pawn on f2. And now for Nodirbek, it's like bishop g4, and Gukesh will have further control on the light squares. So he needs to decide on how to continue here. Should he go bishop h6, put pressure on this e3 pawn? Should he double down the f file? He decides to play a5, and Gukesh very quickly pushes his pawn on b5. gaining further space on the queen side. Nodirbek thinking hard here, because time-wise Gukesh has maintained a good pace. You can see both the players adjusting themselves in the chair. They're like, okay, we need to be completely focused here. Bishop h6, a good move, putting pressure here on these pawns. Practically this position is very, very complex, although objectively white is clearly better. Rook f7 and rook g1 played by Gukesh, a good move, aiming at the weakened black king. King h7 played, and now d4 is the pawn push move here, because after d4 you can't take on c4, your queen is hanging, and d5 could be an idea, de could be an idea. So it's a very powerful move, but it's not so easy to play this move when your king is on e1. So Gukesh goes queen e2, and it's not the best move in the position. Now the knight could jump to f5, eyeing e3 and d4 squares. And one of the plans with knight f5, he finds it, knight f5, beautiful move, is that if you long castle, then look at this bishop eyeing the king. So the knight could jump to d4 and potentially put a lot of pressure here. So again, Gukesh has this question, what to do with his king. He goes a4, rook f8. Black's pieces suddenly start making a lot of sense. He long castles. But guys, now this move, knight d4, is tremendously strong. Will Nodirbek find it? It's sometimes hidden, you know, such moves, because the bishop pins the pawn. You don't want to be playing here, and at the same time, if bishop d4, you have ed4. And you see this knight d4 move is so tricky. So it takes away c2 square. He finds it. He finds it. You can't go to d2 because of knight b3 check. You lose the queen. Beautiful chess here by Nodirbek Abdusattorov. And from being worse, he's now better in this position against Gukesh. And I must say that the black king on h7 looks much safer than the white king on c1. Bishop takes, pawn takes, taken. And now maybe Gukesh should rush over to king b1. And what is Gukesh going to do here is the big question. Well, taking his time, he has 2 minutes 44 seconds. You can move your king to b2. King b1 feels much better. You know, if you go to b2, he goes king b2. And now d5 played. Pushes the pawn in the center. Nodirbek is like a beast. Once you give him a good position, he's just unstoppable. You can't move your knight because f2 pawn is being guarded. So you must take here. He takes, and now queen takes. d5 threatening a check, so takes on e6, queen e6. And rook to g4. Gukesh is going on an attack. He's like, I'm still attacking here, Nodirbek. But actually his king is weak. And a very good move here is queen e7. Trying to enter in here. He plays it. Nodirbek finds the move. And look at the number of weaknesses in the white camp. It almost feels like Gukesh's position is now going to be destroyed. Also, queen e7 has an added benefit of defending the h4 pawn. I don't even know how to continue. I think king a2 might be important because queen b4, you have queen c2. He does go king a2, And now a clearly better position for Nodirbek Abdusattorov. Will Gukesh be able to survive this attack is the big question. He takes, and rook f3 again finds the best move, attacking e3. Nodirbek has 1 minute 46 seconds. Gukesh down to 57 seconds. How do you even protect the pawn on e3? It's impossible. He goes queen c2, and now rook takes e3. Snatch the pawn. Yeah, he takes with the bishop. It's also possible. One thing you have to take care of now is that rook e1, he may sacrifice the rook and play a check in the position, and that could be dangerous potentially. The best move now is rook 8 f5, and I think it just helps to keep the rook eyeing the c5 square. It's a useful square to be. It also eyes the g5 square. So in that regard, this is a very good move. Nodirbek has more time on the clock, so he can afford to think a bit more here. And he goes queen f7 check. Not the best move here, because Gukesh can simply move his king over to b2. He plays king a3. And now why don't we take this pawn on h4? Remember, the pawn on h4 is hanging, so Nodirbek has to save it. He goes queen e7 check, which is a good move. King comes back to a2. But now the time is almost equal. Whoa, Nodirbek finds the best move. He's amazing. He's too good. Very strong. And Gukesh goes queen c4. So focused, looking at this diagonal. If rook takes h3 now, it's the best move in the position. Even b6 is good. Trying to control the c5 square. He goes queen f7. And that's a big blunder, because queen takes, rook takes. Remember the g5 square, take, check. He takes on h4 first. King g7, oh, that was also hanging. I didn't notice it. And now trade the queens, because with the queen trade, black's position no longer better. White is back. Huge mistake by Nodirbek to trade queens. Rook e2 played. And look at Gukesh adjusting himself there. He kind of realizes when he gets a better position. Bishop f4, knight jumps to c5. And now, yes, the white pawns are weak, but none of them are falling. Bishop d6 played. Knight e6 check is an idea. He takes the pawn on b7. Good move there by Gukesh. Bishop b4. Check. Knight d8. Not a check. Attacking the rook. Rook d7 kind of forced. 9 seconds for Gukesh. 22 for Nodirbek. Nodirbek plays rook d7. And now a check. King f6. And play a pawn to d4. Finds it. What a move. Amazing. He goes rook d5, but now knight takes c7, chops off another pawn. Incredible play by Gukesh. Rook d7 gives a check. Now very important to go to g5, goes to king f5, mate. Oh, checkmate on the board. Domaraju Gukesh checkmates Nodirbek Abdusattorov. What a game this was between the two players. First, Gukesh gets an advantage, but then Nodirbek fights back beautifully. Gets almost a winning position, but Gukesh, not perturbed, goes about his business, and in the end, it was checkmate in one move. Classic game.